Right. Welcome to another edition of the McEnulty Method. We're here with financial expert Frank McEnulty, who's going to share his insights to help us get a little further down the road to financial independence. Frank, good to see you again.
Bill, good to see you again. Nice to always get together.
Yes, and in the last video, we've gotten a lot of people writing in saying, "Hey, could Frank give us more of a step-by-step approach to financial planning?" And so in the last video, you did, got through the first couple of steps, and I was hoping that in case our viewer missed that last one, that you could run through them quickly. I know the first step was determining your current financial situation. So how do you do that?
Sure. Any journey begins with a start, and so you've got to know where you're starting from. So you look at what your income is currently, if you have any savings, what your living expenses are, and your debts. And that's the start. Okay, this is what we have. This is what we're getting in. What's second?
All right. And again, the next step was, all right, now it's time to develop your financial goals. And if you could, again, sort of recap what goes into determining your financial priorities.
Well, one thing you have to look at, it's almost getting into a psychological process here, is determining how you feel about money. Is it the root of all evil? Is it a tool to get you what you want? Is somewhere in between? Because that will affect how you treat money for the rest of your life. And like all things, it may change over time, but you have to decide, what do you really feel about it? And then, what are your financial priorities? Is it really important for you? You've been a poor college student now for 3, 4, 5 years, that you just want to have some fun. So, okay, that's fine. Have some fun for a while, but set a term limit. Okay, I'm going to have fun for 6 months and I'm going to start saving. Might be harder than it thinks. Personally, I think the better way to do it is, you've been a poor college student for a while. You're used to being poor. When you get this first full-time job, you're going to be making more money probably than you've ever made before. Now's the time to start saving rather drastically, because you're not used to having the money. So you won't miss it if you put it in a savings account. And then you decide what you're saving for.
Right. And as you develop those goals, I guess too, that might change over time, where you want to go. But one of the things you mentioned was, once you've chosen some goals, it's a good idea to look at different ways you might be able to get there. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. People think they're stuck in a certain place, a certain job, a certain way of living. Your life is very flexible ahead of you. You can do what you want. You can make decisions. You can change things. And nothing you do is going to be permanent. You can change it again. You can try something. And so, I think we've talked quite a few times about, the goal of buying a house. That's usually a person's main goal. I want to get a house. I want to get a place to live. I want to earn the appreciation from owning a house. Well, Southern California, very tough. Now, I'll tell you what my wife and I did when we got married. It was one of those times in Southern California where housing prices were going through the roof. Of course, compared to now, they were barely, up to the foundation level. But I got offered a job in Florida, went down there, looked around. It's like, well, we want to own a house. We can own one here today. And I could use that to start to build equity, so that if we ever did come back to California, which we did, we would have equity, a lot more savings to actually buy a house here.
All right. And that sounds, I mean, moving to a different state, that's definitely a different way to do it. If uh, anything else, say you're saving to buy a car, something will start a little smaller, and you're working, so you're putting away a little bit with each paycheck, but you want to get there a little faster. What can you do?
Well, you have to look at where you're spending money. Are you just spending too much money going out to dinner every night? Or, one of my new favorite pet peeves is people that get food delivered all the time. Quite honestly, I just went and had lunch with a friend. They're not leaving the house much just yet, so they had DoorDash bring food in. Well, our three sandwiches that cost $36 altogether ended up costing $50 by the time you added, let's see, the DoorDash fee, some other fee, and gratuity for the driver. So now three sandwiches cost $50. If it would have been here, I would have gone and got the sandwiches. So it's just looking at what you're doing. It's so easy to spend money now, especially when you don't have to spend it as such. You just push a button and you've spent money.
Yeah, no, I definitely know that one, that without actually handling bills and coins and stuff, it's easy to spend it because you never see it, you never miss it.
Well, it's even just, yeah, the credit cards and that. There was a study just done that I heard about this past week, which said that people who they have their payment plan already, payment method already in their websites and everything to pay, they tend to pay up to 30% or spend up to 30% more money than they would if they actually had to reach into their wallet and pull out a credit card and put in the number. So all this convenience can be very bad for your financial planning.
Well, to get back to financial planning and this, what steps you need to take. So let's say somebody is, we've decided that we want to buy a house, and we've looked at like a couple of different ways maybe we could do it. Maybe try and save more each month, possibly move somewhere else. Maybe a third way, instead of a savings account, you put it in a money market fund, hoping that might grow. How do you choose which way to go?
Well, once again, that comes down to personal decisions. What is really important to you and your partner? Because you better get both of you on the same path here. Otherwise, that's going to cause a lot of difficulties. You don't need a new car every 2 years or 3 years. You don't have to have a gardener. You can do your own. I'll be honest, I don't anymore. But you have to decide what's the most important thing to you and go towards that goal. And like I said last week, not to make it so draconian, maybe set guidelines. When we get this much money in the bank, we can spend some, we can go on a trip. When we do this, we can buy this. When we do this, we can. And so you're actually rewarding yourself for accomplishing something, because let's face it, it could take a few years to save up enough money for a down payment on a house. And if all you're doing is denying yourself everything along the way, then that could build up a lot of stress, and it could make the whole process of buying the house when you get there so much more stressful and difficult, because like you've saved so long for this and you've scrimped and everything else. A lot of pressure.
It was interesting what you said, that it seems like with each choice you're going to make, there are going to be trade-offs. And I was thinking, like, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was just thinking that, say you want to just, if you got your job, you're working away, you're putting away a couple of $100 a month. I guess the trade-off is, if you do nothing but just stay on that course, it's going to take a long, long time. If you take the money and put it into like a money market fund or some sort of other stock investment to see if you can grow it, I guess you're also risking that it could always go down, and then you'll have less money than you've been putting in. I mean, I guess it's all those things. Talk a little bit, I guess, a little bit about the risk involved in choosing any opportunity.
Well, there's actually a big risk involved in not investing your money. Because right now, if you put your money in the bank, even though technically your statement never goes down, you're losing money every year because the inflation rate is much higher than the amount of money you're earning in that account. So you're technically losing money through the loss of buying power. That money will buy less each year going forward than it does now. So not investing in the stock market in safe investments is probably a bad idea. And you're right, it can go down. And if you feel very uncomfortable with that or very worried, you can buy some of the, what they call blue chip stocks, or I really like the dividend aristocrats, especially for younger investors, because these are companies that have increased their dividend every year for at least 25 years. And that becomes very important to the company. So they're going to do everything humanly possible to keep that going. So that makes for a much safer investment in my mind for people, and for younger people, especially in the long run, those become very valuable investments. Somebody I know sent me a text a couple of days ago saying they just opened a Robinhood account. And I told them two things. I said, that's great. Be careful.
What is a Robinhood account?
Well, a Robinhood account is the stock market the investment account of choice of the millennial. They will give you margin. They will let you invest in just about anything. And a lot of these things are very risky. Like I said, there's the risk. Yes, some people made a lot of money in GameStop. I know people that made money in GameStop. I know somebody that made a lot of money in GameStop. But for everyone that made a lot of money, there's now a whole raft of people that lost a lot of money because it wasn't worth $400 when it ran up there. It's the same. My one daughter finally convinced me that I should buy Bitcoin. Now, I'm not going to run out and buy a whole bunch of Bitcoin. So I opened an account and I bought $100 of Bitcoin. Well, you know what happened with Bitcoin in the week after I bought my Bitcoin?
What?
It went down 20%. So, but I can lose $20. I could lose the whole 100 if necessary. It's not going to affect my lifestyle. What I'm saying is you shouldn't try to say, well, if we invest in this, in a year, we'll have enough to buy a house. Maybe, because it's very risky, and anything that's going to potentially move like that has a lot more risk.
Very true. Very true. You're better off just going to Vegas and putting it all on red for one spin of the roulette wheel. Just teasing.
Well, another example is, as you know, I teach at Cal State Long Beach, and in the last week we've been doing a currency trading competition with all the students to see who could trade currencies to make the most money in a week. You have to understand what I just kept saying. Trade. It's a trading competition. We're trading currencies. Currencies is not an investment. Stocks, real estate are investments. Currencies, for the most part, are something you trade. I make a little money every day. I get in, get out. Sort of like the day trading thing. And so people have to understand what investing is versus trading. Investing is, by definition, more of a long-term, I'm putting my money with something that's going to make it grow. Whereas I think what a lot of people think about nowadays is, as investing is actually trading. Well, we can buy Bitcoin and we can sell in a week or two and make money. That's a real difference that people need to understand.
So I guess when it comes to your financial goals and your financial planning, you need to know your own ability, or your own, how comfortable you are with risk, and just how much of a risk you're willing to take, and which ones you just say no.
Absolutely. And quite honestly, if you're in your 20s, you can take a lot more risk than somebody in their 60s, 70s, because you have a lot more opportunity to make up any mistakes that might happen. You may get lucky and nothing happens, but the suggestion always is, and I agree with this, is you take the majority of your money and put it into something that's fairly secure, is going to grow. And I know people always say, well, the stock market could drop by a third tomorrow. You're right. But if you're invested in Procter & Gamble, 3M, Southern companies, which is a utility company, and big companies like that, they may drop by a third. But they'll come back they'll come back and make it all back. It may take a couple of years, but you have the time. Whereas if you invest in something riskier, it may drop by half and then not come back. So sure, it's fun. It's fun to play in the game. It's fun to play with GameStop stock. It's fun to do Bitcoin. It's fun to do Ethereum and Dogecoin and all these other weird things that, quite honestly, I don't completely understand. But only do that with a little bit of your money. That's the safe way.
That sounds good. Never gamble more than you can afford to lose, I think.
Absolutely.
All right. So once you've evaluated, decided how much risk you're going to take, and you've evaluated the risks of your different alternatives, I guess at that point, it is time to decide which one you're going to do and put the plan into action. And here's the thing, Frank, I think we've kind of run out of time. So I would love to hear how you implement the plan. And I guess you'll tell us about that in the next video.
That sounds great, Bill. We will do that, and I will see you next week.
All right.
Thanks again.
Thank you.